This is Ari Kaplan, and I'm speaking today with co-founders Yongmin Cho, the CEO, and Angie Cho, a regional director for Intellectual Data, an e-discovery provider based in Seoul, Korea, supporting APAC-based conglomerates, among other global companies. Yongmin, Angie, great to see you.
Hi,
Okay, nice to
Ari.
see you. Okay.
Thank you for having us today.
It's my privilege. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So, Youngman, tell us about your background and why you founded Intellectual Data.
Sure. First of all, I have background in Korea and completed my MBA in the United States. I have experience working in startups in Silicon Valley and also at large corporations like Samsung Electronics. After returning to Korea, I worked as the CEO of Korean branch of an Asian-based e-discovery company for over 10 years, utilizing the knowledge and experience gained from my previous roles.
And I think I can continue as our founding members of Intellectual Data have worked in APAC e-discovery industry for more than 10 years. So over the past decade, we have witnessed the rapidly changing and significant procedures or technological changes in the e-discovery market. But what we have noticed is that the demand for e-discovery is in Asia was obviously not as high as in the US. And as a result, Asia hasn't been able to keep up with the technological trends as well as the US market did. So, despite the many differences between Asian-based companies and the US companies, we felt that customized technologies and support were not really well established in Asia. So as a team with a rich experience in cross-border litigations for APAC companies, we founded Intellectual Data in 2018.
Angie, how is e-discovery for Asian companies different from those based in the United States?
Well, in many Asian countries, legal system is based on civil law. So there is often little or no adoption of e-discovery system based on common law in the United States, or it is only minimally reflected. So like in the case of Japan, for example, the e-discovery system is only minimally reflected. And in countries like Korea and Taiwan, there's no e-discovery system like that of the United States. So in order to do effective e-discoveries, especially in compliance with the strong e-discovery system in the United States, it is very important for companies to first accept the system and guide and educate the employees to make sure there is no spoliation and the proper procedures are followed. And additionally, Asian companies have very unique and diverse forms. What I meant by is that each country has different characteristics and cultures, and the company within themselves often have their own different forms of infrastructures. So for example, large Korean companies like Samsung, LG, SK Hyundai, they often develop their own customized or most of the internal business solutions and security solutions by themselves. So I think it's really important to create customized process that can be compatible with US e-discovery platforms like Relativity or Reveal based on what solutions each company is using. So that's why, they're saying that APAC discovery goes beyond the translation. It is really not just a language issue, but it requires experience and know-how to understand the environment of the country and corporate so that we can process them accordingly.
And what are the most common e-discovery challenges that Korean or Asian companies are facing today?
Well, I think there are two main challenges. I think the first is that the companies who are respondents doesn't really much have the experience and knowledge with e-discovery procedures and has no preset countermeasures as a company when facing the US lawsuits. So this can lead to the procedure errors. And the second challenge relates to the data security. And because in these days, each companies or even government agency in each country has increasing sensitivity of the data security. So if I may begin with the first one is Like in Asian countries where there is no e-discovery system, like I mentioned, inexperienced e-discovery responses are recurring risk factors. So large corporations in the United States who regularly face litigations tend to have a well-established e-discovery responses, right? But smaller companies or who does not have much experience with the litigation in the United States, especially who are based in Asia, have lower understanding of e-discovery procedures, which can lead to spoliation and sanction accordingly. Like in order to provide e-discovery services, we need to thoroughly investigate the company's environment and provide detailed guidance on what precautions and checklists that needs to be taken by the practitioners and confirm that these are implemented, properly rather than just relying on clients to understand and handle e-discovery by themselves. And second challenge is, as I mentioned earlier, is the sensitivity of the data security is increasing. There are additional procedures that needs to be processed before producing it to the U.S. court, such as seeking an approval from government agency, like asking for transferring data to the vendor or even U.S.-based law firms, or even when we produce to the U.S. court. So in particular, China's state secrets law and Korea's national court technology-related regulations, they prevent data from being moved within the country before the producing evidence data and impose cross-national sanctions that prevent foreign nationals from accessing data until they got approved by the government agencies. So like other Asian countries such as Taiwan are also increasing security measures for high-tech data handling related to the litigations. So I think to overcome these challenges, I think the localization is very important, and the capabilities of the local professionals performing e-discovery are really important. And as there are enhanced government approval process, the procedures will take longer than the general e-discovery period. So I think it is really important to well estimate the duration in advance, so that we can negotiate court deadlines with the opposing party ahead.
What types of e-discovery disputes does your team help global companies address?
Well, I think our team has experiences with the most of cross-border legal disputes that many global corporations like in Korea, Taiwan, Japan, other countries face in the United States. So we offer strong e-discovery support in various types of U.S. litigations, as well as the ITC, DOJ, FTC investigations as well. So we also support discovery in international arbitrations that follows, IBA rules, or even in the PTAB interferences. And moreover, we open our data centers in the United States and expanded our U.S. operations to respond to even more various e-discovery needs for both large and small U.S. domestic cases, not just in Asia.
Yongmin, you previously served as the CEO of Fronteo Korea. How has that experience impacted your approach and your leadership style?
Well, I was the CEO of Frontier Korea from 2011 to 2019, starting when there were only 2 employees in Korea office. During the time, there were not many people who really knows about e-discovery. So I helped educate the Korean market on e-discovery and secured many large-scale cases for the companies, including Samsung and Apple case, which contributed to its rapid growth. Additionally, as there were nearly no experts or professionals in e-discovery in Korea, I developed expertise in training good project managers and account managers for nearly a decade. Through my experience at Fronteo, I realized how the e-discovery market is not very Asia-friendly and is more centered around the United States. This led me to think about how we could provide Asia-friendly services to businesses in the regions. Even though I was a CEO of Korea branch, in my previous company, I was very limited in making changes and improvements since I was not the owner of the company. So I wanted to establish intellectual data to make improvement and progress. Although we are a relatively new company, I want to emphasize that our abilities, expertise, and trust we gain from our customers are very solid and have been established for a long time.
Angie, how is artificial intelligence affecting e-discovery, and how do you leverage AI to support your clients?
Well, actually, the cross-border cases we have mainly encountered are not frequent, but they typically involve large-scale litigations. So data to be analyzed and reviewed is often on scale of terabytes. So we believe it is very essential to quickly and accurately analyze large amount of the data. So that's where AI-based analysis and review comes in. So it's been a long-standing practice in the APAC discovery industry, and we believe it is important to be agile in adopting new technologies and be ready to utilize them at the appropriate stage. So we're always on the lookout for new technology and seeking the way to adopt and customize in our process. So in that way, we can provide the best possible support to our clients when there is a demand.
Yongmin, how do you see e-discovery in the region evolving?
While e-discovery in the United States is considered to be a mature, saturated, and highly competitive market, we believe that e-discovery in the APAC region is clearly evolving. Ultimately, we believe that it is important for each vendor to have specific strengths and unique features in this competitive market. Therefore, we are building a strong foundation based on our strengths in APAC discovery, and we believe that growth in Asia e-discovery will lead to growth in the United States.
And if I may add, and I think there are maybe a various aspect to it as well. And first, I think e-discovery in Asia is also increasing as the legal disputes of Asian companies in the United States is increasing. Like in the past, like NPEs only file lawsuits against large Asian conglomerates. However, as the response capability of these conglomerates increased due to, repeated lawsuits, NPE that, attacks them with the e-discovery and cost burden have expanded their attack targets to, Asian mid-size or small-size companies. So I feel like that there is a number of companies initiating those lawsuits for the first time in the United States is increasing in the market. And I think that more diverse and numerous companies will have lawsuits overseas, I think. And also, like many large Asian companies these days are investing heavily in the United States. So while in the past lawsuits were mainly based on intellectual properties or, sales revenue, but now, like many Asian companies from manufacturing to employment are exposed to various large and small disputes in the United States. So individual lawsuits of U.S. subsidiary based on the headquarters are also increasing, I believe.
This is Ari Kaplan speaking with co-founders Yongmin Cho, the CEO, and Angie Cho, a regional director for intellectual data, an e-discovery provider based in Seoul, Korea, supporting APAC-based conglomerates, among other global companies. Yongmin, Angie, thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.